Were you going to buy a brand new BMW? Possibly have you thought about waiting till 2027? There's a lot of new models coming up, and a lot of the old existing products from 26 and older are getting a little old and dated. But I'm going to share some of the most exciting news for BMW coming up for this year in 27. But I'm also going to share models that you should buy, models that you shouldn't buy, the types of buyers that are generally going to buy them, along with the specifications, and most importantly, whether you should lease, buy, or just rent. Let's get into it now. The first model, whole new wholesale change for 2027. I would hold out for this. I find it absolutely fascinating, breathtaking, and very exciting. Some would call it polarizing. I would say this is absolutely crazy, and we're talking about the next generation BMW M3. It's likely going to have the all-wheel drive system in the xDrive. It's also likely going to have the S58 powering it, which is the twin-turbo 3-liter inline 6-cylinder engine, which is likely having 550 to 600 horsepower in that range. Automatic, guaranteed. Manual, possibly. There's still talks about maybe that not coming back for 2027, but suffice it to say their automatic gearboxes are absolutely amazing. You know it's going to handle better than previous generation. You know it's going to be faster than the previous generation, and this new exciting style and platform is absolutely breathtaking. Don't worry about the competition. The Audi RS5, no, not even in the same league. How about the Cadillac CT5V Platwing? Yes, that's a possibility. But on top of it, even Mercedes-Benz with the C63E Performance, yeah. AMG, not quite the same as the outgoing models. With Turbo 4s and hybrids, I'm not sure it's in the same league as this BMW with a hardcore, hot, fire-breathing inline 6-cylinder engine. That's why I truly believe these are amazing cars you really have to take a look at. The typical buyers of the M3 aren't for the faint at heart. You're generally going to be somebody who likes to take your car to the track, true driving enthusiast, and somebody generally who has a higher level of income, because these are not cheap cars. You're going to be into the 6 figures. Whether you consider leasing, buying, or just renting it, these are generally considered enthusiast cars, and as a result, most people just generally buy them. They want to hold on to them for a while. According to my research, less than 5% of these M3s are ever rented. About 25% of these vehicles are leased because they're generally not incentivized as aggressively, as these are specialty cars. They don't need to incentivize these cars, and BMW generally knows that they'll sell out. Production numbers are a little lower, and they have no problems in selling these outright. That takes us to sales. 70% of owners typically buy the BMW M3 outright, and if you're shopping for one of these, that might be the vehicle you're looking for. The next generation is the new and improved updated G50 3 Series BMW. Whole new platform redesign based on the new class, which is effectively compatible with both the internal combustion engines as well as the electrified vehicles in some of their other products like the i3. The good news is this G50 BMW is still true to its auto enthusiasts. That's right, it's likely going to still carry the B58, that's the 2-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder with a mild hybrid, producing well over 250 horsepower and made it up to that glorious 8-speed automatic transmission called the ZF 8-speed. You've got to try it. You would never believe it if you didn't. As well, you'll also likely have access to that great B58 engine, also with a mild hybrid, and it's a 3-liter turbocharged inline 6, twin scroll, single turbo, also up to that 8-speed auto. Absolutely can't go wrong there. Well over 300 ponies, 0 to 60 sub 5 seconds. You really can't go wrong. They're absolutely great cars. And honestly, if you're looking at some of the competition like Audi A4, forget about it. The Audi A5, also forget about it. Mercedes-Benz C-Class, I'm not so sure they're quite in the same classification. If you ask me, I currently own a C-Class, but I'm not so dazzled by it these days. The fit and finish and the quality just not is on the same page as the BMW. The Alfa Romeo Giulia is still another great option. Great performance, great styling, and honestly, a little fire breathing too might bring that attention to detail that the BMW seems to gloss over. Yeah, the BMW is newly restyled. It looks great, but BMWs have always been in mass abundance. You see them all over the road. If you want something a little bit different, maybe the Alpha is your game. But the typical person buying your Garden Variety 3 Series is likely company owners, company users under leases, and in some cases, some driving enthusiasts, specifically more when you're dealing with the inline 6 called the B58. That's where you're likely going to see more of the people that really love the driving experience. They're going to gravitate to the 6-cylinder more so than the 4. The 4 is a great entry point. It's likely to be seen more under a lease condition, and the B58 are more people that are likely going to buy them outright. That's because 5% are likely going to be rented, Only 40% are likely to be bought, and 55% are likely to go into a lease. That's largely because the 3 Series is more generic, more mainstream, and with a base 4-cylinder engine, that means a lot of people just like to have them around. Lease incentives are going to be plentiful by the manufacturer, and that's why a lot of them wound up in the lease environment. A lot of people say, save yourself a lot of heartache, lease a BMW, enjoy it for 3 years, then give it back. You don't worry about maintenance. The B58 and the B48 are much more durable than they've ever been, and BMWs as of late are far less a risky proposition than they were even 10 or 15 years ago. Another one is a bit of a facelift, the BMW 7 Series. Another big change. Of course, they're going through some modifications and alterations, and it just seemed like yesterday that they came out with that newest and latest and greatest. Almost looks like a hearse, but it's fascinating in a sadistic sort of drive by a car wreck kind of a way. You look over and you just can't help but look at it. It's kind of like you flinch and you tweak, but you still have to kind of look in a sadistic kind of a way, if that makes sense. There's a few different variants of the 7 Series. The 740i with 394 horsepower features the B58 with the 3-liter inline 6 and of course single turbo twin scroll. That made it up to the 8-speed auto. It's a great point of entry, and I truly believe that's the engine combo you should buy is the 40 Series in any of these BMWs. Then there's the 750e, which is a plug-in hybrid, features almost 500 horsepower, and of course the same engine underneath, but now you get some electrified power to give it a little extra oomph. Then there's the 760i, which is likely to continue on, has not been completely verified yet, which of course features a twin-turbo V8 engine, which if you want the ultimate in performance, that's the way you go. But if you want the ultimate in cost at the service shop 3 times a year or more, then that's also your choice. But there's yet another variant. There's also the M760e, which has a whopping 603 horsepower, and it's effectively a plug-in hybrid as well. So all kinds of options. You'll notice a lot of more electrification dialed into a lot of these models, but you can still get a lot of fire-breathing turbocharged enginery buried under the hood. And I love these cars. I truly do. In any format, I think the design of the 7 Series looks great. It's polarizing, but get that with the 740, it's sort of base trim, base model, and that solid engine, you're good to go. But instead of the 7 Series, there's some stiff competition. I mean, Lexus has the LS, which is on its way out the door, and if we're being honest, I would probably lean to the Lexus. It's a beautiful car, absolutely. The Audi A8, which in my opinion doesn't stand toe-to-toe with these cars, and then of course the venerable Mercedes-Benz S-Class, which honestly is a really strong competitor. So it's a tough competition. With me, I'd probably go Lexus, but honestly the BMW is a very compelling conversation. Who's buying these cars anyway? You always wonder who buys a 7 Series. You never see them on the road. You always wonder who buys them. Well, luxury buyers, executive fleets, chauffeurs, and in some cases CEOs that just love to roll around in the lap of luxury and like to feel like there's something important. Let's be honest, we know what the average CEO makes, over $30 million a year plus benefits and bonuses, so they can afford one of these 7 Series Beamers. Commercial use of these vehicles or rent or chauffeur use is about 5%. About 45% goes to leases, and about 50% of the owners of the 7 Series actually outbuy these cars outright. Now the next one is truly exciting for me. I had a BMW X5 many years ago and I loved it. It was spectacular. It had great performance with the diesel engine, and that's sad. We can't get them diesel engines in North America anymore. Particular markets, apparently it's still available, but generally it's not available to the masses. I loved our diesel engine, but our X5 had such a nice packaging, good ride height, good performance, very spacious inside, and the fit and finish was vastly better than anything below that. So any 3 or 4 Series, it felt more substandard compared to the 5 Series and the X5, which definitely felt more luxurious and upscale. I love the X5, and honestly everybody else does too, because it's one of their most popular mid-size SUVs that is hitting far above its weight class with strong towing capability and of course lots of space. It's absolutely wonderful, and it's going through a brand new update. It's not just a mild facelift. This is a whole new model. In some cases people consider it a strange redesign, has some interesting fender flares. The split rear door is a bit something mixed. I know I used to love that in ours. You could flip up the hatch and you could drop the little half door at the back. Well, that looks like it's gone now too, and some of the drivetrains which we loved back in the day sadly will be missed. But there's some exciting new news here with the new X5, which is totally redesigned. You can get the X5 base model, which is the 40i X-Drive, of course, features 390 horsepower buried and pushed from a mild hybrid attached to the B58 engine, which is that 3-liter inline 6, and of course made it up to the 8-speed automatic, which again, I reiterate, is one of the best in the business. You want to step up your game one notch? Here's probably where I would go. The X550E. You get 480 horsepower in this plug-in hybrid, but again, it's made it up to the B58, which is one of their best engines they've ever produced. The type of engine that even Toyota was proud to wrap under the hood in the skin of their brand new Toyota Supra. And so while BMW is planning some hydrogen as well as some diesel variants in different markets, the last one is truly all electric, the iX5, which is actually quite exciting based on the range. Now, if you don't want an electric vehicle, this isn't for you, but it has some impressive numbers. Dual motors, 570 horsepower, which is plenty punchy, a 435-mile EPA range. It's got a 144 kilowatt hour battery and a 460 kilowatt charging ability. Now, this new X5s have some stiff competition, 4 to be precise. The Mercedes-Benz GLE, which is pretty, not so sure it's up to the same capability. The quality, the fit and finish isn't quite the same level, as my opinion, as BMW's putting out. The Porsche Cayenne is probably one of my favorites. As I bought an older used variant, I can appreciate them. The build quality, the solidity, the performance handling, and just definitely more geared towards the gearhead like me. Then there's the Volvo XC90, forget about it. And as well as the Audi Q7, which I want nothing to do with. I feel like that's not necessarily barking up the right tree. Even though it's largely based on the Cayenne, it still lacks some of the drama that you're getting with the Cayenne product. I would stick with either the BMW or the Porsche Cayenne. Who's buying these? Executives, high-income households, and obviously business owners who have a little expendable cash that they can throw around. According to my research and studies, approximately 5% of these BMW X5s will likely wind up on a rental lot somewhere, 40% will likely wind up in a lease environment, and about 55% will be purchased outright, as most people see these vehicles as the best bang for buck, the sweet spot for BMW, and usually the solidity and the drivetrains that are very agreeable with. The B58 is a foundation to a lot of these engines and drives. That means that now the durability is there and people have a little bit more trust and faith. I do. That's why I would probably go with the plug-in hybrid with the B58 or the standard 40 series to get you the B58 and the 8-speed auto. That's the only way I would probably get into one of these vehicles, but they're absolutely all great. And the new redesign, fresh. The next model is an all-new flashy platform called the iX3. Of course, it's based on the new class, which is compatible both with their combustion as well as their electrified setups. Yeah, it's a design that was clearly meant for efficiency in the manufacturing end, where they're not creating all kinds of unique tooling situations where it's going to cost them a lot more to create these vehicles. Instead, they're saving money at the front end. They've designed this new class platform, which is going to help. This new architecture is going to mean more affordability for the OEM. The real question is, do they pass that down to you as the consumer? I'm not so sure, but it has some interesting specifications like dual motors, 800 volt architecture, 400 kilowatt charging, approximately 400 horsepower, and over 500 kilometers of EPA range. The transmission in these is single speed, and BMW claims that this is a massive leap for efficiency, as I say on the manufacturing side, and they even say reference to the software packaging as well. And I hope it doesn't mean locking down the owners of these vehicles to keep them hands off. Likely it will anyhow. It's electrified and very few people know how to work on their own electric cars anyway. And an 800 volt platform means it's not just something that most of us don't know anything about, but it's also equally dangerous. So yeah, these vehicles definitely are totally new and a departure from BMWs of old. There is some competition, however, the Audi Q6 e-tron, the Tesla Model Y, electrified Genesis GV70, and the Mercedes-Benz GLC EV. Now, admittedly, this is a smaller compact package. We know that the X3 is based on a compact SUV. Well, this is the electrified version of it. So therefore, it's not catering to the CEOs. It's not catering to the premium executives. This is catering to younger buyers, families, luxury SUV shoppers, tech geeks, and first premium EV owners. These will also likely see 5% of them roughly on the rental lots. Only 40% will likely be buyers, and more likely 55% will be leased, because it's sort of that entry point where a lot of these vehicles are more likely to be leased. They're not as flashy. It's not an enthusiast vehicle, so enthusiasts don't care very much. These are going to be sold in volumes and mass numbers, and so BMW is likely going to be trying to push these heavily incentivize these, particularly at the end of the year. When it's time to unload hundreds of these on a car lot, they're going to lease incentivize or finance incentivize. However it's sold, they're going to be pushed out the door. And of course, another model you've heard about so much based on the new 3 Series, the i3, full of new technology. You've got screens that go from corner to corner, top to bottom, and honestly, it's an entirely new platform based on the new class. 108.7 kilowatt hour, 800 volt architecture, dual motor with all-wheel drive, charging up to 400 kilowatts of DC, and a single speed reduction gear that's likely going to get you about 350 miles of range. There's also an i350 xDrive, and that's going to bump you up to about 400 horsepower and still give you all-wheel drive. Now there's competition like the Polestar 2, Audi A4 e-tron, the Mercedes-Benz CLA EV, and of course the Tesla Model 3 Performance. The classic buyers of these are going to be your classic tech lover that loves all the electronics and flash. They don't care. They don't value internal combustion. They don't value the seat of the pants feel. They value cutting edge design. They're likely a previous EV owner from somewhere else, maybe a Tesla beforehand. And much like the iX3, you're only going to see about 5% of these on the rental lots, but you're only going to see about 35% of these purchased outright. It's a big risk. It's a big chance. It's a new platform, lots of glitches and gremlins likely to be expected, and because it's more of a techie type vehicle, easy come, easy go. Enthusiasts aren't buying these, tech lovers are buying these. That's why more people are inclined to lease these and take less of a risk on, and more likely the buyers are going to go somewhere else, buy an M3 or something different. Because 60% of the buyers of these are probably going to lease them. So for me, the only 3 of these lots that I would purchase actually is the M3 without a doubt. Absolute amazing. The second one would be the G50 BMW 3 Series, likely equipped with the inline 6 B58. That's another winner. And the other one I would buy likely would be either a plug-in hybrid or the regular B58 powered X5. I love the X5 platform. I love the B58, so that's probably the top 3 for me. The rest, not my style, not my speed, and in most cases, if you're a true car enthusiast, you'll probably not look there either. Hope to see each and every one of you real soon, everybody. Don't forget to check out another couple of great videos, and we'll catch you on the next one. See you then. Bye-bye.